Good afternoon, empty nesters. Good afternoon, family. I hope you're doing well. And today, as promised, I'm going to go through session 2 of our training on loneliness. Um, I promised on Wednesday that I would do another recorded video and share the learnings of session 2. And session 2 is about the external causes of loneliness. Once again, if you see me looking down, please excuse me, don't worry, because I'm reading the notes that I was taking in the lesson. As I said, I'm sharing with you what I'm learning, and I'm hoping it will help you, or it will help you help somebody who is experiencing this. I'm mainly doing this for my fellow empty nesters because I want them to be aware and to have hope and to see that actually empty nesting doesn't have to be a syndrome. It doesn't have to be something negative. It can actually be an opportunity. But that's not to say that this only applies to empty nesters, because as you will see, there are so many reasons why people end up lonely. And a lot of them overlap into the reasons why people end up empty nesting. So, external causes of loneliness may include all of the of the list I'm going to go through. Some of the things on the list I'm going to go through, or just one of them. And then there are also other possible causes, which I hope when you watch this video, you will be able to share with me so I can share with others. I love sharing information. I believe sharing is caring. So there you go. Now, external causes of loneliness are situational. By situational, I mean some situations can lead you to feel out of place, feel on the outside looking in, and so feel lonely. And it can be environmental uh, things that will cause you to feel lonely. With me, for example, living in an area where I knew nobody and where I felt nobody actually acknowledged or welcomed me. Um, it could be bereavement, that's the third one. If you lose someone special to you, someone important to you, it could be a loss to death, or it could be a loss by a breakup. It could be a loss by moving from one place to another, and you go through a bereavement period. That would be very lonely, because a lot of times people cannot really understand what you're feeling or what you're going through. And the fourth one is divorce or a breakup in marriage. Those are very tough times, and they are tough times to explain to people, and that can make you feel lonely. It could be physical disability, it could be mental disability, it could be developmental disability, it could also be marginalization. And when I talk about marginalization, I'm talking about things like um, belonging to a protected group. We have in England what is called protected groups of people, and these include religion, race, sexual orientation, age, disability, gender reassignment, marriage, pregnancy, and maternity. These things can cause you to be excluded, marginalized, isolated for one reason or another. People are very biased. I think it's a very easy thing to get into, to fall into, being biased. And we're living in a world where there are so many labels, and a lot of times labels lead to exclusion, and exclusion almost always leads to somebody feeling left out and isolated and lonely. It could also be social media. Social media is good and it's bad. It just depends on who is using it and how they are using it. So if you fall into the hands of wrong people on social media, things can be done, things can be said that can leave you feeling really excluded, isolated, and lonely. Now, we then went over filling in a list of the things. That's like itemizing things that every individual has observed or experienced, or that every individual knows to cause loneliness. And here is what I put on my list. I'm sure you may have seen, witnessed, or experienced one or more of these. Um, I said being a victim of abuse, taking up a caring role, culture shock. For me, that was a biggie when I came into this country. The fantasies I had in my head and what I actually witnessed when I got here were totally different, and I went into what is known as culture shock. Disability, especially if it's a new thing, if you're not born with a disability and then something happens that introduces a disability to you, like with me with a car accident. It was and it still is very hard for me to wrap my head around some of the stuff that I can't do anymore, that I used to be able to do, and people not even understanding when I tell them that I can't do these things anymore. They still look at my face and see it smiling and think it means I'm still like I was before. So that could cause one to feel lonely, and I have felt lonely from that perspective. Empty nesting, obviously, that's a real biggie for many people because a lot of times we don't think of empty nesting phase in our lives being something that will happen to us. We look at it as something that happens to our mothers, even though we are mothers ourselves. We look at it as something that happens to other people, and we never allow ourselves to stop and think, wait a minute, are we not going on the same road? So I'm going to be part of this at some point. And then when it does happen, it shocks us out of our skin, almost literally. But if we plan for it, it is just a new phase of new exciting opportunities and new exciting things to do. Food for thought, eh? And mental health illness could be another. Single parenting, that was another. And another person added that actually single parenting to a child with disability or a child with learning disability is even worse. It could be unemployment, whether you've never worked before and you've just been struggling to keep your head above the waves, or you've worked for or before and then all of a sudden you lose your job and you find yourself unemployed and you're trying to adjust to the new you with very limited financial resources. It could be being single, being from a perspective of marriage. If you've never been married, I mean, it's almost known to be the natural thing that everybody gets married at some point. And if you've never been married and years keep passing, you start to feel left out, you start to feel isolated, excluded, and you start to feel lonely. And you can lose focus and you can lose your sense of purpose. And that loss of sense of purpose can become another reason for you feeling lonely. That was my list. I'd love to know what you put on your list. Please share in the comments, or you could direct message me with them and I'll share whatever it is that you share. Let's help each other. And then we discussed also hope. Because when you're experiencing negative things like loneliness, the only thing that really keeps you going is hope. So, what is it that you hope for that keeps you going or that keeps you fighting to come out of this lonely phase? And I made a list. I don't know if I'll be able to share the picture. It was just a kind of type of graph or diagram. It's pretty, isn't it? So it's like a sunflower, and it says hope in the middle. And then those are the flowery bits where I put the list, where I listed all the things that I hope for and the things that bring me hope. I'm gonna read it out. The stand-up comedy. I like to have a laugh, and that gives me hope. When I'm having something to laugh at, I forget my worries and I forget that I'm lonely. I forget that I'm alone. So yeah. I love creativity, craft, whatever form of craft. I'm always trying different things. That keeps me occupied, that keeps me busy, and that gives me purpose. I love attending recovery college because they do different things that makes you feel acknowledged, accepted, included, and it gives us opportunity to meet new friends, new colleagues, and stuff like that. I love journaling. I find when I'm stressing about something, if I start journaling, I'm able to make sense of my thoughts. I'm able to make sense of my responses and my feelings. And so that gives me hope because then I can actually plan on what I'm going to do about it. And my son is a source of hope to me. He's always encouraging me. If I'm struggling with something, if I'm debating something in my head, he's a very good sounding board. He has a very steady, calm persona. So even when I'm in panic mode, if I talk to him, the way he responds so calmly, I always find that the panic dissipates very quickly. So he is my source of hope. I love writing, poetry especially, but I also like writing in general, creative writing, short stories, um, creating information in writing um, on my social media a lot of times. Connecting with like-minded people, that is also a source of hope for me. A typical good example is here, um, Empty Nesters Creed. We are like the phoenixes. We rise again and again, no matter what we face, because we help each other to stay afloat and to stay focused and hopeful. Um, I love good weather. Right now we're in the summer. I'm looking outside. The sun is shining. It's a brilliant day, and I'm looking forward to going to an event. But if it was winter and the weather was cold, I hardly leave the house. It just brings me down. So I love good weather. And I love nature. So I take walks, I take photographs, I take videos. I love exploring new places, especially in the countrysides, because that's where you are at one with nature. In my faith, I get the greatest hope from my faith as a Christian. When I go to church, when I go to conferences, when I go to retreats, when I have prayer groups in person or live videos, stuff like that, the things we talk about, the scriptures, they help me put things into perspective and I stay hopeful. I love music and dancing. I can't dance as much as I used to before because of the injuries of the accident, but I still love dancing. I even love watching people dance. And I'm not a very good singer, but I love singing along to the tunes that I like. I like appreciating small things. Keeps me hopeful as well because all those small things, when you put them down there, it's a whole list and it becomes a big picture, and that gives me hope. I love swimming. I love the feel of water on my body. I love the sound of water when people are splashing in it. I love the sound of water at the beach. So I will swim in the beach. I will swim in the ocean. I will swim in a swimming pool, in a recreational place, or in a leisure center. I just love water. Uh, I love hearing inspirational stories. I love it when people tell stories when they faced something and then they managed to rise above it. That always gives me a lot of hope. I also like sharing my stories of triumph when I've faced challenges and I've stayed resilient and I've refused to throw in the towel, and then at the end I've succeeded. We could go on and on and on because there are so many different things that bring hope to so many different people. And now I'm going to read you a poem about hope that was written by Patricia A. Fleming. I hope you pick one or two things out of it and you gain a little bit of hope from it as well. I've always viewed life from the sidelines, she says, just watching it pass me by. In the past, too afraid to just let go and leave. And lately, too tired to even try. I've envied the people around me, so invested in living each day, while I spend my time hiding out from the world and searching for ways to escape. For most of my life, I truly believed I was here to help somebody else. But now it's clear it was just an excuse to avoid living life for myself. It's sad that our lives and the pain we endure can weaken our strength to move on. But if we get lost in the scars of our past, without knowing our lives will be gone. It's true, people are disappointing. They can turn in the blink of an eye, but we can't avoid hurting each other when we all want a chance at this life. But there's something I've learned through the wisdom of age, a truth about all of our lives. And that is no matter what path we each take, in the end, we just want to survive. So the time has come to conquer our fears and to stand up and face a new day. Let the hurts of my past wash away with my tears and stop letting my life slip away. The end. That was a poem by Patricia Fleming. I could relate to quite a few things that she wrote about, and I'm hoping that as you listened to it, you could also relate to a thing or two that she was talking about. Now, I also wrote a short poem about hope while we were at it, because we were all asked to write a little poem about hope, and we shared it in the class. Each person read their own poem, and I'm going to share mine and hope that either relates to you as well, or it can bring a little smile to your face. So I wrote hope. Actually, mine, I called it If Hope Was a Person. If Hope was a person, she would be female, so she could be multitasking. She would be multicolored, like the rainbow, so that no one could ever say, I didn't see her. Hope would have loads of energy, positive energy, so she could go from one person who needs her to the other at the speed of lightning, because we all need her after all. Hope would always wear a smile, because smiles are catchy and speak volumes more than words. Hope would love life like everyone. Hope would be so popular because she would call on us all, propping us up with enthusiasm, passion, and zeal for life. I tell you, if hope was a person, this world would be the greatest place ever. If anyone or anything tried to mess that up, hope would surely put them in their place. It would be hope here, hope there, and she would not get tired of doing the rounds, touching everyone in the special way suited to them individually. Hope would also do her best to bring people together so that needed teams, groups, societies, and clubs would be up and alive, making sure no one was left feeling lost, alone, and left out. If hope was a person, hope would be hopefully sharing hope around the world so that no one would be found left out, or just feeling it left out. Thank you very much. I hope this lesson has taught you a thing or two, and I will see you next week. My next lesson on loneliness is next Wednesday. And again, after the lesson, I will share what we will have covered, what I will have learned, and my thoughts. Have a lovely afternoon. I'm going to get ready to go to this event I mentioned earlier on. Remember, take time to live life, or else it will leave you behind. Bye bye.